I was listening to this guy tell a story the other day that I can't stop thinking about. He was at his brother's house, just hanging out, playing with his 2-year-old nephew. Totally normal scene. And then completely out of the blue, the kid just clocks him like a full-on, surprisingly hard smack right on the arm. Wham! And he said for a split second, he felt that hot flash of anger. You know the one, that primal urge to react, maybe even grab the kid's arm and shout, "Hey!" It was his gut reaction, pure instinct. But then, just as quickly as the anger flared up, it vanished. Poof! He just stopped. And the reason why he stopped, the thought that went through his head in that tiny moment of pause, is honestly one of the most powerful lessons I think I've ever heard about how to deal with literally anyone who hurts you.
Oh, yeah. That flash of anger. It's so relatable, isn't it? I mean, who hasn't felt that? That immediate heat.
Right. Instantly.
And you're absolutely spot on that the reason behind the pause, that little halt when everything in you wants to just, react.
Yeah.
That can be truly profound, liberating even.
It really can.
It's almost like finding a hidden superpower we didn't know we had. It's there, just waiting for us to notice it.
Exactly. It just clicked for me when I heard it.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, that's precisely what we're going to get into. We're going to unpack that exact moment.
That gap.
That tiny critical gap. The one between what happens to us, the stimulus, and how we respond or react. We'll explore where those instant reactions, the ones we sometimes regret, actually come from. We'll dig into why pausing feels so damn tricky in the heat of the moment, like trying to catch smoke, right?
Yeah, it does.
And then the really important part, we'll look at some practical ways to actually cultivate that space, to make it bigger.
Find more room for wisdom.
Yeah, for wisdom, for choosing intentionally and honestly, for maybe having a few more laughs about it all. Because sometimes you just gotta laugh at yourself and how ridiculous reactions can be.
Absolutely. A sense of humor helps.
Okay, so to really frame this, there's this quote. It's often attributed to Viktor Frankl, brilliant guy, and it feels like the source code for living intentionally.
Ah, I think I know the one you mean.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom.
Powerful stuff. Really nails it. That space is the power.
It is. But for me, growing up, that space felt totally mythical, like non-existent. My response was often going off before the stimulus had even finished,
Oh, I get that. The instantaneous reaction.
Totally. Something happens, someone says something, a situation unfolds, and bam. I'm either like instantly defensive, getting my back up, or maybe I'm spiraling into worry, or just apologizing like crazy for something that didn't even need an apology.
Right. No filter.
Zero gap. Just a straight, often really chaotic line from A to B, or A to R, I guess.
That's such a clear way to put it, and it really gets to the heart of the difference. When we talk about reactions, we're talking pure instinct.
Gut level.
Exactly. It's like running on autopilot. Yeah. There's no real filtering, no conscious thought involved. You just act or speak. Impulse takes over.
Yeah.
And you're often not thinking about the ripple effects, the consequences down the line.
Nope. Just fire.
It's an immediate discharge almost.
Yeah.
Primal, like you said. But a response, well, that's different. That's a conscious choice.
Okay.
It involves maybe taking a deliberate deep breath, a conscious pause, or even just a brief moment of mindful presence, just noticing what's happening inside you.
Okay.
In some traditions, spiritual contemplative traditions, they actually call this the sacred pause.
Sacred pause, I like that.
It highlights just how significant it is, how potentially transformative. It's not just about delaying. It's an invitation to be different in that moment, to choose differently.
So, okay, let me see if I've got this. A reaction is like slamming the big red panic button on your internal console. Everything goes into overdrive. Chaos maybe ensues.
Could be, yeah.
Whereas a response is more like, hang on a sec, let me just check the map here before I decide where to go. Does that kind of capture it?
That's a fantastic analogy, seriously. It nails the core difference perfectly.
Okay, cool.
It's that fundamental shift, isn't it? Between being driven by that immediate, often unconscious instinct versus acting with conscious, maybe informed intention.
Right. Informed by something other than just panic or anger.
Exactly. The pause isn't just hitting delay. It's like opening a door. It lets you engage the higher parts of your brain.
The thinking parts.
The parts capable of reason, empathy, looking ahead, foresight. Without that pause, we're often just creatures of impulse, right? At the mercy of whatever pattern got triggered.
Yeah, I can see that.
And think about the workplace, for instance. The cost of not having that pause can be really significant.
How so?
Well, what do people miss out on when they're just constantly reacting? They miss chances for real connection, for actually solving problems thoughtfully instead of just escalating them, for building trust.
Okay, yeah.
Now,
Makes sense.
imagine a tense negotiation, or maybe a difficult conversation with a teammate. A quick reaction, that might just pour fuel on the fire.
Been there, done that, regretted it.
We all have. But a thoughtful response, that can de-escalate things. It can open doors to understanding, maybe finding common ground. It helps build those more emotionally intelligent workplaces everyone talks about wanting. That pause is key to that intelligence.
So it's not just personal growth, it's professional too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interconnected. Now, to really get why we react so fast, sometimes with such, intensity, we need to take a quick look inside the brain. It's fascinating, actually.
Okay, neuroscience time. Lay it on me.
We're talking about something called the amygdala hijack. It's a term coined by the psychologist Daniel Gorman.
Amygdala hijack. Sounds dramatic.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
Imagine your amygdala. It's this small almond-shaped part deep in your brain. Imagine it as your brain's super vigilant smoke detector, always on alert.
Okay. Smoke detector. Got it.
Its main job is to quickly spot anything with emotional significance, especially potential threats. And then, almost instantly, it triggers your body's basic survival responses: fight, flight, or freeze.
Ah, the classic 3 Fs.
Exactly. It's an incredibly efficient system, purely evolutionary, designed to keep us alive when, saber-toothed tigers were a thing.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because understanding this was a total game changer.
How so?
Well, this amygdala, this tiny smoke detector, it can literally flood your whole system with intense emotional responses before the rational part of your brain even gets a look in.
That's the hijack.
Yeah. Your prefrontal cortex, the sophisticated bit responsible for logic, planning, good decisions, it's basically offline for a critical moment.
Playing catch-up.
Totally. It's like your brain's got this internal fast and furious mode, and the amygdala just slams the gas pedal and grabs the wheel, no questions asked.
Great image.
And that's why you find yourself acting irrationally sometimes, feeling these overwhelming emotions. And then later, right, when the chemical storm passes, you calm down and you're hit with that wave of regret. Why did I say that? Why did I do that?
The emotional hangover.
Exactly. And realizing it's not necessarily a character flaw, it's literally your primitive brain hitting the emergency override. That's huge.
It is huge. And it's so important to get that. It's not a personal failing. It's not a sign you're weak or flawed. It is, like Goldman said, a temporary neurobiological event.
Okay, temporary. Good to remember.
Your brain is just doing what it evolved to do, protect you from what it perceives as danger.
Yeah.
Now, what makes it even more complex and fascinating is the hippocampus.
Okay, another brain part. What's its role?
The hippocampus is all about memory, and it's constantly linking what's happening right now, the current triggers, to your past emotional memories.
Ah, okay. Connecting the dots.
Exactly. So something in the present, maybe a certain tone of voice, a specific word someone uses, even a facial expression, might unconsciously ping your brain back to an old memory, maybe a difficult one, even a traumatic one from way back.
Even if you don't consciously remember it.
Especially if you don't consciously remember it sometimes. And that connection can then turbocharge that amygdala response, make it even more intense, even if the current situation, objectively speaking, isn't really a threat at all.
Wow. Okay.
This really hints at those deeper connections we need to explore, how our present-day reactions are so often tied to these echoes from our past.
Which explains why sometimes a tiny little thing can set off a massive, totally out of proportion reaction.
Precisely. It's not just about the here and now. It's about the then and there showing up again.
Okay, so that leads us straight into this really deep, profound idea. These big reactions we have as adults, the ones that feel overwhelming or maybe even out of character, they often aren't just random bad moods.
No, rarely random.
They're actually like signals, right? Little distress flares shooting up, pointing back to what professionals call unresolved psychological wounds or unmet needs, often stuff that started way, way back in childhood.
Yes. Like we're still running old emotional software, as you put it.
Yeah, exactly.
And childhood emotional neglect is a really powerful example of this.
Okay, what exactly is emotional neglect? It sounds less obvious than other kinds of harm.
It often is. It happens when a child's feelings, their needs, their ways of expressing themselves are consistently ignored or dismissed, maybe invalidated, or even shamed by the people they depend on, their caregivers.
So like, don't cry, or you're too sensitive, or just not having feelings acknowledged.
Exactly, those kinds of things, especially if it's a consistent pattern. And this seemingly subtle form of neglect can have a huge impact on an adult's whole emotional world. It shapes self-esteem, the ability to manage emotions, and how we approach relationships.
How does it shape relationships?
Well, think about the bind a child is in. They have to depend on these adults for survival. But if those adults are, for whatever reason, maybe their own trauma, stress, lack of emotional skills, if they're emotionally unreliable or dismissive, or maybe even unsafe,
The child still needs them.
they absolutely do. So in these complex situations, maybe what you'd call developmental trauma, the child learns this deep nonverbal lesson. Relationships are essential and also potentially dangerous or hurtful.
Wow. That's a tough lesson to internalize, both helpful and dangerous.
It is. And that core belief, often unconscious, can lead to things like weaker boundaries in adulthood, or maybe a higher tolerance for being treated poorly.
Why? Because it feels familiar.
Partly familiar, yes. It might feel like, well, this is just how relationships are, or this is how it's always been for me. There isn't necessarily a template for something healthier or safer.
Okay, I can see how that would play out. And you mentioned the workplace before. How does this connect to that?
Well, you see it reflected in things like workplace incivility. Yeah. Studies show a lot of people experience it. Something like 65% of U.S. workers report some kind of incivility.
Incivility, like what? Rudeness. Yeah, or think about those passive-aggressive emails. Sarcastic comments passed off as jokes in meetings. A boss who consistently overlooks your work but praises someone else.
Those kinds of things. Now, for someone carrying those underlying emotional wounds, those triggers from childhood where they felt unseen, unheard, unsafe,
Right.
a seemingly small act of incivility at work can feel huge. It can trigger a disproportionate, almost primal reaction.
So it's not just about the rude email itself.
No, it's about what that email feels like deep down. It pokes that old wound. It feels like being unseen, unheard, devalued all over again.
Which could lead to feeling really unhappy at work, stressed out.
Or even make someone think about leaving a job. Not just because of the incident, but because of the deep old pain it unknowingly stirred up. It reactivates that relationships are dangerous feeling.
Man, it's all connected, isn't it?
Deeply connected. #tag 5 styles of boundary responses and what they look like. And building on that, from those early experiences, especially if there is significant stress or trauma that wasn't processed or healed, we often develop these unconscious coping mechanisms.
Survival strategies, basically.
Exactly. And they show up as distinct boundary styles in our adult lives, particularly in relationships. They're like automatic programs that just kick in when we feel threatened or vulnerable. They're trying to protect us, even if they don't always work well now.
Okay, what are these styles?
Well, researchers often talk about 5 common patterns. They link back to those basic stress responses. First, there's fight.
Fight. Okay, like aggression.
Not always physical,
Okay.
often psychological. It's where someone might unconsciously impose their needs on others, force their view of things, or maybe attack verbally or emotionally if they feel their needs or control are threatened. They can get really self-absorbed in this mode, not really seeing other viewpoints. In an office, maybe it's the person who just shuts down any disagreement or steamrolls everyone to get their idea through.
Right, got it. What's next?
Then there's flight. This one's marked by this deep anxiety around closeness, around intimacy, often unconscious.
So avoiding connection.
Yeah. Finding reasons to not get too close. Evading direct emotional expression. It leads to a kind of isolation, a subtle pulling away. Think of someone who always cancels plans if things might get too personal. Or avoids eye contact when talking about feelings.
Okay, third.
Third is freeze. This looks like passive detachment, like zoning out or shutting down when things get overwhelming or conflict arises.
Like playing possum emotionally.
Kind of. It's an attempt to just not feel anything. It can lead to feeling alienated from yourself, chronic procrastination, feeling numb, or sometimes even impulsiveness, weirdly, as a way to kind of break out of that frozen state.
Interesting. So maybe the person who just goes totally silent in an argument or puts off important stuff forever.
Exactly. Feeling paralyzed. Okay. Fourth is feign or submit.
Feign submit, like pretending or giving in.
More like prioritizing everyone else's needs way above your own, to the point where you might not even recognize your own needs or boundaries anymore.
Ah, the people pleaser trap.
Very much so. Often feeling really guilty or self-critical just for having needs. They sacrifice their own well-being for others' approval or comfort. It's the person always saying yes to everything, even when they're totally overloaded. Or letting others decide everything, even if it affects them negatively.
Yeah, I know that one. Okay, and the last one.
Finally, there's attach. This is characterized by this really overwhelming, sometimes painful, desperate need for the other person in a relationship, often driven by a deep fear of abandonment.
Okay, clinginess.
You can look like that.
Yeah.
It often leads to persistent sadness, feeling lonely even with people around, intense emotional neediness, or just desperation to keep the connection going no matter the cost. Maybe someone constantly needing reassurance or really struggling with brief separations, seeing any distance as rejection.
Wow. Oh, okay. I can totally picture these. It's like you've described half the people I know, including myself sometimes.
Chuckle softly. We all lean towards certain styles.
Seriously. The fight person at the restaurant, losing it over a breadcrumb. The flight person suddenly getting a mysterious cough when you want to talk feelings. The freeze person whose eyes just glaze over mid-conflict like their operating system crashed. The feign submit friend saying, oh, you pick for dinner, even though you know they secretly hate sushi and wanted pizza. And the attached person sending 5 follow-up texts if you don't reply in 2 minutes.
You paint a vivid picture.
And what's really wild is thinking people can actually flip between them, right? Depending on the situation or who they're with. Fight 1 minute, freeze the next.
Absolutely. It's not always fixed. It depends on the trigger, the context, the relationship. It's a kaleidoscope of coping, like you said.
Yeah, a messy human kaleidoscope.
And the crucial thing to grasp is when that childhood trauma, especially the complex, ongoing kind, isn't addressed, these coping styles don't just fade away. They can solidify into chronic problems in adulthood.
Like what kind of problems?
Difficulty managing emotions, maybe being very impulsive, real instability in relationships, feeling hypersensitive to stress, like you're always on edge.
So not just quirks, but real impacts.
Real impacts. These aren't just bad habits. They're deep neurologically wired patterns, survival strategies from the past that aren't serving us well anymore. The nervous system learned to protect itself back then, and it hasn't really updated its software for the relative safety of the present.
Updating the software. That's a good way to think about it. So if these big reactions really are these echoes, these old patterns, it brings us to this really interesting idea you hear a lot about, the inner child.
Ah, yes, the inner child concept.
Yeah.
Very relevant here.
What exactly is it, though? It sounds a bit whimsical.
It can sound that way, but it's a really useful psychological concept. It basically refers to that childlike part of you that still holds the memories, the emotions, the developmental experiences from your early years.
So the younger version of me is still hanging around.
In a way, yes. Think of it as the mini you that's still running some of the old emotional programs in the background, often totally unconsciously, making decisions or reacting based on information and feelings from way back then, which might be totally outdated now.
Okay, so the mini me is influencing the adult me.
Significantly. And in therapy, working with the inner child is about reconnecting with that younger self. It's a way to acknowledge the pain or unmet needs from the past.
Giving it a voice.
Giving it a voice, validating it, and importantly, providing the nurturing, the reassurance, the protection that maybe wasn't available back then.
Ah.
Often it's these wounded parts, these unhealed aspects of the inner child that unconsciously pull us towards unhealthy relationships or make us repeat old painful patterns.
Why would we do that? Repeat painful patterns.
It's not because we consciously want to suffer. It's often because those patterns, however painful, feel familiar, maybe even safe in a strained, paradoxical way compared to the unknown, especially given those early experiences.
Familiarity over health. Okay.
So the goal is to bring these inner parts into your awareness, to tend to them with compassion, to integrate them with your adult self so they aren't driving the bus from the back seat anymore.
Okay, let's unpack this. So if my inner 8-year-old is still fuming about being picked last for dodgeball, and that feeling gets triggered when my boss critiques my presentation,
Yes.
then understanding this inner child thing helps explain why I might react to the critique with, like, disproportionate defensiveness or hurt. It's not just about the presentation.
Exactly. It connects the seemingly over-the-top adult reaction to the original unmet need or wound of the child.
So it's like self-parenting. Learning to give that kid part of me the comfort or validation it needed back then, but giving it to myself now as an adult.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Self-parenting. You become the wise, resourced adult caregiver to your own inner child.
Which explains some of those weirdly irrational adult things, like why I still get unreasonably annoyed if someone cuts me off in traffic. It's not just the traffic violation. Maybe it's my inner 5-year-old feeling ignored and pushed aside again.
Precisely. And seeing it that way changes everything. The reaction isn't just irrational, it's communication. It's a signal from a vulnerable part of you.
Okay.
And this self-parenting isn't about blaming the past or your actual parents. It's about empowering your present. It's recognizing those core needs: safety, belonging, validation, love. They don't just vanish if they weren't met consistently.
They stick around.
They linger, often showing up as these strong reactions. By building that relationship with your inner child, you can finally start meeting those needs from within.
Creating internal safety.
Exactly. Internal safety, consistency. That signals to your nervous system, to your amygdala, that things are okay now. You're essentially updating that internal operating system, teaching your brain that the world, your world now, is safer than it might have felt back then.
Okay. That feels hopeful.
So we understand the why, the hijack, the echoes of the past. Now, the crucial next step is the how. How do we actually start cultivating that sacred pause, that space for wisdom?
Yeah, the practical stuff.
One of the most powerful and well-researched strategies is mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay, you hear that word everywhere. What does it actually mean in this context?
At its core, it's about practicing non-judgmental awareness, paying attention to the present moment, your thoughts, emotions, body sensations, what's around you, but without getting swept away or criticizing what you find.
So not trying to empty your mind or escape.
Exactly. It's not about escape. It's about facing life, challenges included, with a calmer, more centered, observant mind, seeing things as they are, without the extra layer of reactivity.
And it doesn't have to be complicated, right? I mean, you hear mindfulness and picture monks on mountains.
Chuckles. Not necessarily, no. It can be incredibly simple and accessible.
Like what? Give me examples.
Well, simple mindful breathing is a great starting point. When you feel that stress or anger rising, just intentionally shift your focus to your breath. Notice the feeling of air coming in, going out. That simple act creates a micropause.
Okay. Breathing. I can do that.
There's also body scanning, bringing awareness to different parts of your body, noticing sensations, maybe releasing tension. Acceptance exercises acknowledging difficult thoughts or feelings without fighting them.
Just letting them be there.
Letting them be there without judgment, yeah. Even gratitude journaling, intentionally focusing on things you appreciate, can build resilience and shift your perspective.
Okay. I confess I've tried meditating and my brain is like a hyperactive squirrel. Thoughts bouncing everywhere.
That's normal. That's what minds do. Mindfulness isn't about stopping the thoughts. It's about noticing them without getting caught up.
Okay. Noticing, not stopping.
Exactly. And even just a few minutes of that focused attention, however imperfectly, can make a real difference in your day. It builds that mental muscle, that emotional resilience, that capacity to ride the wave instead of being wiped out by it.
Riding the wave. I like that.
And it's not just, woo-woo stuff. The science is solid. Mindfulness-based practices are proven effective for reducing anxiety, depression.
Really, like comparable to therapy.
Often comparable to things like cognitive behavioral therapy for certain conditions, yes. Studies show it really helps. The key takeaway for our deep dive is mindfulness isn't about clearing the mind. It's about observing the mind.
Okay. Observer mode.
And that act of observing, that creates the space. Thoughts and feelings become data, not dictators. You see the feeling, you're not just consumed by it. And that gives you the power to choose your response.
Observer mode. Create space.
It's more than just being easy on yourself. It's not about self-pity or letting yourself off the hook. It's about actively treating yourself with the same kindness, the same understanding, the same support you'd naturally offer a good friend who's having a hard time.
Okay. Treating myself like I'd treat a friend.
Exactly. When you're struggling, failing, feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
And it's strongly linked to better psychological health, more happiness, optimism, motivation, better coping skills. It's about becoming your own best ally.
That sounds really important, but also maybe hard, especially when you're feeling bad about yourself.
You can be. Which leads to these two really interesting paradoxes of self-compassion that help frame it.
Paradoxes. Okay, intriguing. Lay them on me.
The first one is, when we suffer, we practice not to feel better, but because we feel bad.
Okay, wait. Not to feel better, but because we feel bad. What does that mean?
It means the goal isn't an instant fix. It's not about trying to immediately erase the pain or pretend it's not there. It's about offering comfort, care, acceptance to yourself, precisely because you're hurting.
Like comforting a sick friend? You do it because they're sick, not just to instantly cure them.
Perfect analogy. The care is unconditional. It's a response to the suffering itself.
Yeah.
Just being kind to yourself in that moment of pain.
Okay. That makes sense. What's the second paradox?
This one's maybe even deeper. When we give ourselves unconditional love, we discover the conditions under which we were unloved.
Whoa, okay. Unpack that one for me. What does that mean?
It points to something called backdraft.
Backdraft, like with fires.
Exactly like with fires.
Yeah.
Imagine you have an old emotional wound, maybe from feeling criticized or neglected as a kid. It's been sort of buried, smoldering.
Okay.
When you start intentionally offering yourself kindness and compassion, maybe feelings that wound hasn't experienced much, sometimes that very kindness can paradoxically intensify the old pain. The old self-criticism or shame might flare up.
So being kind makes it feel worse temporarily.
It can, temporarily. It's like opening a door and letting oxygen into a smoldering fire. It flares. But the saying goes, love reveals everything unlike itself.
Love reveals everything unlike itself.
That kindness, that unconditional love, even though it might stir things up initially, ultimately brings those old, unloved parts to the surface. They flare up so they can finally be seen, acknowledged, and healed instead of staying buried and driving your reactions unconsciously.
So the flare-up, the backdraft, is actually part of the healing.
It's often a sign that healing is happening. It's tough, but transformative. Practices like the self-compassion break developed by Dr. Kristen Neff are designed for these moments.
How does that work?
It's simple, really. First, acknowledge the suffering. This is a moment of suffering, just name it. Second, connect it to common humanity. Suffering is part of life, I'm not alone. And third, offer kindness. May I be kind to myself.
Acknowledge common humanity, kindness.
Yes. It shifts you from constantly trying to fix yourself to embracing yourself, flaws and all. And that self-acceptance, that internal kindness, builds a really strong inner foundation. It makes you less vulnerable to those amygdala hijacks because you have this secure base of self-love to return to.
A secure base? That sounds incredibly valuable.
Okay, another really practical technique for building that mindful response is cognitive reframing.
Cognitive reframing. Sounds like changing your thoughts.
Essentially, yes. It's about consciously challenging and changing those unhelpful, automatic thought patterns that can trigger negative emotions and reactions. Rewriting your inner dialogue, basically.
Okay. How do you do that?
There's a simple, effective method, often called catch it, check it, change it.
Catch it, check it, change it.
Okay. It helps us interrupt that cycle where our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors get tangled up in a negative loop. You know, the thought leads to a feeling, which leads to an action, which reinforces the thought.
Oh, yeah, the vicious cycle. I know it well. It's like my inner monologue sometimes gets written by a really dramatic teenager who's convinced the world is ending.
Chuckles. That's a common experience.
You know those unhelpful thoughts?
Yeah.
Always expecting the absolute worst. Like one typo in an email means I'm definitely getting fired.
Catastrophizing, yeah.
Or ignoring all the good stuff. 10 compliments, one tiny critique, and boom, the critique is all I can think about for days.
Negative filtering.
And the black and white thinking. Everything's either amazing or a total disaster. No middle ground.
All or nothing thinking.
And my personal favorite, blaming myself for everything. The coffee machine broke. Probably my fault somehow. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And those are perfect examples of cognitive distortions. So catch it, check it, change it, helps you tackle them. First, you catch the thought. Just notice it when it pops up. Become aware of that automatic negative pattern.
Okay, awareness first.
Then
Yeah.
check it. You step back and examine the evidence. Is this thought actually true? What are the facts? Are there other ways to look at this situation? You bring logic into it.
Questioning the dramatic teenager.
Exactly. Interrogating the thought. Once you've checked it, and often you'll find it's exaggerated or just plain wrong, then you change it. You consciously reframe it into something more balanced, realistic, and helpful.
Okay, so instead of I'm getting fired, maybe I made a typo, I'll fix it. It's unlikely to lead to firing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Or instead of this is a total disaster, maybe this is challenging, but I can handle parts of it. It builds mental flexibility. It gives you more control over your emotional reactions because you're not just buying into the first negative thought that appears.
Finding alternatives.
Finding alternatives, more constructive perspectives. It's that constant reminder. Things are often not as bad as our automatic thoughts predict. There's usually a more balanced view, and finding it breaks that reactive cycle.
Catch it, check it, change it. I like that. Seems doable. Hashtag tag practical steps for impulse control and emotional intelligence. Okay, so if we loop back to that opening story, in Nephew, the smack, the pause. These things, we're talking about mindfulness, self-compassion, reframing. These are the actual tools for creating that pause, right? For moving from just reacting to actually responding with more emotional intelligence.
Exactly. These aren't just abstract ideas. They translate into concrete, actionable strategies you can use every day to build impulse control and emotional intelligence in your personal life, at work, everywhere.
Okay, give me the practical steps, the how-to guide.
All right. First up, mindful breathing. Simplest, maybe most powerful first step. Feel the impulse, the anger, the urge rise. Stop.
Okay.
Focus on your breath. Just a few deep, conscious breaths. Inhale, exhale, it interrupts the hijack, creates that micropause.
Breathe before reacting. Got it.
Second, the 10-minute rule. Feel a strong urge, send the angry text, buy the expensive thing, say the sharp word, commit to waiting just 10 minutes, just 10. Often the intensity fades significantly in that time. Reason catches up.
10 minutes, like a cooling off period. Okay.
Third, create barriers. Be proactive. Make impulsive actions harder. If you shop online impulsively, delete saved credit card info. If you snack mindlessly, keep the junk food out of sight or reach. That little bit of friction can stop the impulse.
Make it inconvenient. Smart.
Fourth, journaling for self-awareness. Keep a journal. Track not just your feelings, but the triggers. What sets off your strong reactions or impulses. Seeing the patterns helps you anticipate and prepare.
Know your triggers.
Okay. Fifth, empathy practice. Crucial, especially at work. Actively try to see things from the other person's perspective. Before reacting to someone, pause. Consider their situation, their possible motives. Understanding their side can diffuse your own reaction and lead to better interactions. Empathetic leadership, for example, is linked to less stress, better teamwork.
Put yourself in their shoes. Good reminder.
Sixth, physical activity. Regular exercise is huge for mood regulation. Releases endorphins, reduces stress. A less stressed brain is better at managing impulses. Aim for regular movement.
Move your body, manage your mind. Yes.
Seventh, healthy habits. Foundational. Good nutrition, consistent sleep. Your brain needs fuel and rest to function optimally, including impulse control. Avoid too much sugar, caffeine, especially when stressed.
Basics matter. Fuel the brain.
Eighth, goal setting. Having clear, smart goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound gives you focus. Less likely to get derailed by impulses when you know what you're working towards.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Okay.
Ninth, environmental adjustments.
Yeah.
Tidy up your space. Remove temptations. If social media scrolling is an issue, put the phone away during focused times. Control your environment where you can.
Reduce the temptations. Makes sense.
And finally, 10th, positive reinforcement. Don't forget this. Reward yourself for exercising self-control. Small rewards for making thoughtful choices reinforce the new behavior. Acknowledge your wins.
Celebrate the pauses.
Exactly. Celebrate the pauses, the thoughtful responses. It helps build new habits.
Okay, these are brilliant, so practical. Mindful breathing. Okay, deep breath before replying to this infuriating email in all cap yes, 10-minute rule. Wow, that vintage lava lamp is calling my name. I'll revisit the urge in 10 minutes. Barriers. The cookies are now on the highest shelf, requiring a stepladder and possibly a grappling hook.
Chuckles. Whatever works. Journaling. Dear Diary, today I resisted the urge to throw my stapler out the window. Progress. Empathy. Maybe my colleague wasn't ignoring me. Maybe their Wi-Fi just died mid-meeting. Physical activity. Feeling stabby. Time for some jumping jacks. Healthy habits. Maybe pizza isn't the best brain food before a major presentation. Goals. My goal is to respond, not react, to feedback this week. Environment. Phone goes on airplane mode during dinner. Positive reinforcement. I successfully navigated that awkward conversation without losing my cool. I deserve a nice cup of tea and 15 minutes of quiet.
It really brings it down to manageable steps, doesn't it?
That's the idea. Small steps consistently applied lead to big changes. Now here's something really fascinating, emerging partly from Alzheimer's research that totally flips the script on how we think about memory.
Ooh, okay. Intrigue level rising.
The core insight is this. When you recall a memory, you're not actually accessing the original fixed recording of the event.
No, what am I accessing then? You're actually recalling the last time you recalled that memory. And crucially, you're bringing up the emotions associated with that last recall.
Wait, what? So memories aren't static, they change each time I remember them.
The emotional flavor of them can, yes. This is incredibly empowering.
How is it empowering? Sounds kind of unreliable.
Because it means you have the power to modify the emotional intensity, the feelings surrounding past events that still trigger you.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Modify past feelings. How?
Think about that example of Aaron, the little boy who witnessed something traumatic.
Yeah.
When the police interviewed him later, he just had chocolate cake and was playing happily with a toy race car in the hospital. So when he recalled the traumatic event, he recalled it infused with the positive feelings of the cake in the car.
So the memory got remixed.
Exactly. It effectively remixed the memory, changing its emotional weight, its valence. This is called memory reconsolidation.
Memory reconsolidation, okay.
It means while the facts might stay the same, The emotional charge attached to the memory can be changed.
So,
Yeah.
how do I do that without needing chocolate cake during every bad memory recall?
Chuckles. You intentionally recall a difficult memory while you are simultaneously in a positive or resourceful state.
Why?
Maybe while you're exercising, feeling good physically, or laughing with friends you trust, or listening to music you love, or even just feeling safe and calm. You create new, positive neurochemical associations while accessing the old memory.
So you overlay the old memory with new positive feelings.
Over time, yes, gradually. You lessen the painful impact, the intensity. You make it less triggering. You're actively remixing its emotional charge so it doesn't hijack you as much in the present.
So if I have a memory of, say, bombing a presentation, I could try recalling it while I'm hiking in nature, feeling good.
Exactly. Consistently pair the recall with a positive state. Over time, you can soothe those old wounds, rewrite the emotional narrative. It's an active way to heal by bringing the past into a more positive, resourceful present.
Wow, that's actually incredible. Memory mixing.
And building right on that idea of healing and remixing, we can learn a lot from trauma-informed parenting principles.
Okay, how does parenting advice apply to me managing my own reactions?
The core idea is resilience. A child's brain is incredibly resilient. It can heal and adapt given the right environment, safety, consistent care.
Right.
Well, guess what? An adult's brain retains that resilience, that capacity to heal and change. The principles for fostering that internal safety, connection, and healing are remarkably similar, whether you're caring for a child or for your own inner world.
So applying trauma-informed care to myself.
Precisely.
Becoming my own trauma-informed caregiver. Is that what you're saying?
That's a perfect way to frame it. It's about consciously creating that deep, visceral feeling of safety within yourself.
Like building the supportive emotional home I might not have had.
Exactly. Providing yourself with the stability, predictability, and loving internal environment that allows those older parts, those wounds, to finally feel safe enough to heal. Giving yourself the unconditional support you'd offer someone you truly cherish.
Okay, that feels huge. How do I actually do that? Become my own trauma-informed caregiver?
It involves integrating some key self-parenting principles into your life. First, consistent internal routines. Just like kids need routines for security, create predictability for your emotional selves. Consistent morning practice, an evening wind down, regular emotional check-ins. It signals safety to your nervous system.
Predictability equals safety. Okay.
Second, verbal reassurance to self. Talk to yourself kindly. Intentionally communicate love, safety, validation internally. Catch that harsh inner critic, the sarcasm, the judgment. When old stuff comes up, gently tell yourself, it's okay, you're safe now. It wasn't your fault, you're doing your best. Make your inner dialogue a soothing one.
Be my own cheerleader, not my own bully.
Exactly. Third, prioritize self-attachment. When you're triggered or distressed, instead of lashing out or shutting down completely, learn to turn inward first. Retreat to a compassionate relationship with yourself. Recognize your need for internal connection, for rest, and rest can include playfulness, joy, humor. Connect with yourself before reacting outward.
Connect inward first.
Okay. Fourth, understand your own behaviors as communication. See your reactions, your impulses, your patterns, not as flaws, but as attempts by a part of you to communicate something.
Yeah.
What need isn't being met? What is this part trying to protect you from? Get curious instead of critical. It's like applying that flip IT idea, feelings, limits, inquiries, prompts to yourself. What's the feeling? What's the limit being crossed? What's the need? How can I prompt myself toward a healthier response?
Get curious, not furious with myself.
Beautifully put. And finally, simple, consistent self-care. Not spa days necessarily, but small, regular things that give you energy and joy. Learn to set boundaries. Saying no is crucial self-care to avoid burnout. Connect with supportive people. And importantly, seek professional help when you need it. Therapy, coaching, is a sign of strength to get support.
Boundaries, connection, support. Got it. Wow, that's incredibly powerful and kind of liberating, actually, thinking about it as being my own best friend, my own nurturing parent, my own guide, and understanding that these intense reactions aren't me being broken. They're just echoes. And that I can actually choose to create that space, to heal those echoes, to respond differently.
That's where the freedom lies.
Yeah. That feels like real freedom. Reclaiming something, taking the power back, you know? One conscious pause at a time.
That's exactly it. Hashtag outro.
Man, what an incredible deep dive this has been today. Seriously, we went all the way from that kid smacking his uncle to the sacred pause.
A crucial gap.
Yeah. explored the brain science, the amygdala hijack, the echoes from childhood, the fight, flight, freeze stuff.
The inner child.
Right. And then landed on all these amazing practical tools: mindfulness, self-compassion, catching and changing thoughts, memory remixing, even being our own trauma-informed caregiver.
Quite the journey.
It really was. It was honestly a blast exploring all this, digging into the nuances, really fascinating stuff.
It really is. And I think the core message is that this isn't just about managing conflict better or feeling less stressed. Those are great outcomes.
Right. It feels bigger than that.
It's about gaining a kind of mastery over your own inner world, transforming those triggers, those old wounds, into actual gateways to healing, to growth, and ultimately to real, genuine freedom in how you live and relate.
Triggers as gateways. I love that.
And it's a journey, right? It's ongoing, full of self-discovery, always more to learn.
Absolutely. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure taking this deep dive with you today. Really enjoyed it.
Likewise. Always a pleasure. Thanks for the great conversation.